So I've been spending the day with Kindle Fire, which arrived this morning, a review copy from Amazon. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It came out of the box, I thought it's just the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and then read some reviews and started playing around with it, and thought, well, maybe it's overhyped, and I've been part of the overhyping. But at the end of the day, I have some thoughts that I've organized that I want to share with you before, maybe get them up before most of the Kindles start shipping. First thing I've realized is this really is a Kindle, and for me that's saying something, because for 3 years I've been totally enamored of the e-ink Kindles, had the podcast every week for 3 years. So when something comes along and says it's a Kindle and it doesn't have an e-ink screen and it's not kind of the real thing, it's got its work cut out for them. And but I think that the Fire has succeeded in doing that. A couple of reasons. One is, if you start out at the home screen, which is kind of like bookshelves, and you press on books, what you see here is, I'm going to get this up close here so you can actually see. You're seeing the bookshelves, and this is my archive, which I can always see on my Kindle and the e-ink screen, but they're just lines of type. And but now all of a sudden I've got all these beautiful covers of all the books that I have there. And I can, of course, see the same view on Kindle for a PC or Kindle for the iPad, but I think there's something subtle about the fact that this is made by Amazon. So now you've got something that's a Kindle, it says Kindle right on it, and here are all my books that I've been buying from Amazon for my Kindle for the last 3 years in this very attractive package. And you know, the books look good when you get a chance to see, you know, there's a photograph that I put in, and I've set the type there for, it's sort of a sepia background, so it's easier to read, and it's very attractive. So I've got the books, and the other thing that you have here is that the links show up really well too. So the books are there, and they're easy to read, and so that kind of makes it feel like home to some extent. The other reading thing which I've spent time on is magazines, and I was very pleased to see that the New Yorker app, which is available, and they're giving a 3-month free trial to the New Yorker, which is pretty amazing since it comes out every week, and about 12 or more Condé Nast publications, other Condé Nast magazines. So what's remarkable is that this app, which shows up with the New Yorker, is exactly the same as the app that you'll find on the iPad, which they put a lot of work into, and it's a more sophisticated and I find more pleasing rendering of a magazine than a lot of the other magazines that are up on the Kindle store, and also for the iPad for that matter. You've got actual links, you've got a live table of contents, you can move around on it in ways that are attractive. It fills the whole screen of the Fire, and some of the other magazines don't have that. They don't have that ability to take up the whole screen. Now, by comparison, if I look at Rolling Stone, you've got a text view, which is very similar to what you see when you're reading a Kindle book, or you have a page view, and there you're seeing something much more like the magazine itself. The problem with the page view is the type's very small, and so to see it you have to do the pinching and spreading to get the type easy enough to read, and there's a lot of kind of jockeying around. So you're having to choose between one or the other, and I think the New Yorker app's a little better designed on that. The thing which really rocks on the Fire is the video. You've got the 10,000 free videos to watch if you've got Prime. I never watched Lost when it was on TV, and so I thought, well, I wonder what the first episode of Lost is like, and it turns out it's pretty gripping. So it's streaming live on the Wi-Fi at home here, so it's coming along pretty quickly. And
Drive Shaft. Oh, the ring. Second tour of Finland. You never heard of Drive Shaft?
The band.
Yeah, the band.
The image is crystal clear. I've been pretty disappointed with some of the streaming Netflix videos that I've watched on my iPad, they're blurry, you know. Sometimes they're sharp. This is just totally sharp. Now, a couple of things which don't work as well, and so I'd say they're really not quite so hot. And one is the browser. It's better than the Nook Color, which I also had, in terms of, you know, you put your finger on something and you drag, you make something happen. It just you know, it comes faster than that, but not as fast as the iPad. So it's okay. It's got tabs, and it's got other features which make it a pretty good average browser, I guess is how I would describe it. But it's got that little touch of sluggishness which, compared to the iPad, makes it, you know, that's not one of the hottest things about it. Now, music is an aspect of it that is talked about a lot. But when you play the music, you can listen to it on headphones. This is Adele, which was playing at the press conference.
There's a fire starting in my heart.
No mystery why they chose that song. And you can, when I was doing some of my reading of the magazines, I was listening to the music. That's something I can't do on the e-ink devices, so there's that. But, you know, you're not going to carry this around with you just to listen to your music when you can have all your music on you know, a smaller device like an iPhone or something like that. When I think about how this device is going to fit into my tech equipment, I think of it in terms of size and shape. And what I have here is my current arsenal, and the one it starts. My main device is the MacBook Air. I can't see, you know, traveling with 4 devices. If I go from here to Boston or I'm traveling around, it just seems like overkill. And so it comes down to, is the Fire really got enough horsepower to replace the iPad the way I use it? As I said, the iPad I use mainly for video, reading, some on the web, email, and there are only 2 things I use it for that are sort of useful. And one is Evernote, because what I'll do is I'll put the script for the podcast up on the iPad, and I can have it there while I'm working in GarageBand on my computer. So it's sort of like you know, an additional computer with information that I need. Turns out Evernote is up and running on the Fire, and it looks like a very strong. It's the Android Evernote, which I guess has been there for a while, and it works fine on the Fire. So I would be able to load my script through Evernote and have it on the Fire and use it the way I've used it on the iPad. The other things that there's a program called iBrainstorm that I've used on the iPad, and it's a great program that has little post-it notes that I use just to, you know, if I'm trying to think through, well, what are the different aspects of the show going to be this week, and I think there's something just genius that you can move these things around with your finger, and it feels very creative. And there's another mind mapping program that I use in a similar way. Well, I did a search in the App Store on the Fire. I didn't find iBrainstorm yet, but I did find an app that's called Smart Diagram Pro. Sorry about that. And it enabled me just to make an image of what I wanted to talk about tonight using circles, and I could move them around, and it was that same feeling of creativity using the touch. So these are very early days of the apps, and I guess I'm hopeful that I'm going to find, as I say, that post-it note program will find its way onto this, and that in general there are going to be enough tools that I can use, maybe some new ones that I haven't been using on the iPad. The video is certainly comparable to the iPad, and everything else, you know, is I think there's going to be enough here to justify setting the iPad aside. It's either going to Darlene so she can read quilt books, or maybe it's off to eBay. And so then I've got, if you just thought of 3 pleasing shapes, okay, some kind of a laptop, and then kind of a play device that's used for different media, but also maybe a few useful tools. And then, of course, for serious reading, nothing's going to replace the e-ink reader for me for the foreseeable future in times of really immersive reading in a book or a long article. So I think that that's what it looks like tonight on the first day of using the Fire. I'm pretty impressed with it.